Welcome to the Millionaire Way podcast with Sargam, the Energy Guru. I help successful people connect with their inner abundance using principles of energy to unlock their true potential, helping them create massive success in their personal and professional life so that they can live their greatness. I firmly believe that abundance is a state of being, and each one of us can tune to create a life of prosperity and happiness. Welcome to the show. Hi, Sahil. Welcome to the Millionaire Way podcast. So happy to have you finally on the podcast.
I'm so happy to be here. Such a pleasure.
Thank you. And with that bright smile, you know, I want to know, how did you start on this journey of entrepreneurship? And, why you do what you do?
So, entrepreneurship, I would say it's really the environment that I grew up in. I grew up, my father's an entrepreneur. And so I just grew up in that world. He would invite me to the office many times, and I would go as a child and, meet his customers and go on holidays when he went on business trips. So he was very involving. He was very inclusive with the children, with myself and my sister. And as a result of that, I just felt that that's how life is. In fact, I did dabble in the corporate world. I did dabble in working for other people.
Mhm.
And I did that for 4.5 years, but I quickly realized that wasn't me. Maybe it's my self-limiting beliefs. Maybe it's, the environment I grew up in. I just believe that this is how life should be.
Mhm.
But, entrepreneurship comes with its ups and downs, right? I mean, you
Yeah.
have a lot of responsibility. You're taking care of an entire business and not perhaps just a division or one area of a company. You're responsible for feeding everyone else's mouth before yours gets fed. But at the same time, you have flexibility.
Right.
I don't have a 9 to 5 job. I go to work when it's right to go, and I leave work when it's the right time to leave.
Mhm.
And I'm able to schedule things the way I would personally like, which is fantastic.
Awesome. So, academically, like if I see your journey, you are an engineer, right? So, so your journey from engineering to corporate world to entrepreneurship, and now, becoming an author, how do you define this journey, and how do you see it for yourself?
The one thing I love about my academic years is my parents didn't force me to pick something because they felt it was the right thing to do. You have many parents who say you must do what I did, or must go to the same university, or must do medicine, must be an engineer, must be, business, accounting, whatever it might be. My parents told me, do what you enjoy. I was always fascinated with gadgets, right? That was just me as a kid. And I related that to electronic engineering. And that's why I did electronic and electrical engineering. And I ended up doing my master's in that as well.
Mhm.
So I did something that I enjoyed, not because it was expected of me, but because I wanted to.
Mhm.
Right? My first job, same thing. I'm the one who decided. My parents gave their blessings, they supported me, and I ended up being an investment banker. Right? And some people might go, well, what's the connect between an engineer and an investment banker? And the funny thing is that the finance sector actually loves diversity, and they love mathematicians, engineers, because they like the way we think.
Absolutely.
So they said, look, we can train you the way we want and mold you the way we want to for what we do, but we can't change how you operate inside between your two ears.
Mhm.
And so that's what they were hiring us for. Now, it didn't work out for me because I realized that I wanted to be an entrepreneur and not be in the corporate world. But I still did it because I wanted to, right? And there was a little bit of trial and error.
Yeah.
I don't think at the age of 21, 22, I really knew what I wanted in life. And a lot of people were going there, the money was good. And I'm like, that looks, it looks interesting. Let's go with the flow.
Yeah.
But over the years, I developed my own identity a lot more. It became a lot more apparent, more strong. And then rather than trying to fit in, I started to say, let me stand out and let me
Mm.
be me.
Great.
So, over this journey, like I was going through the profile, and something that I came across is your love for travel. And you are a passionate mountaineer. So all of that, builds a very exciting profile. When I see you, Sahil, as a person. So how does that happen? How did you, want to take up mountaineering?
If I really dig deep, I've been thinking about this, and I realized that growing up, I was, of Indian origin, but I was born and raised in Belgium.
Okay.
Now, in Belgium, even though I spent the first 18 years of my life there before I went for university, I was still seen as and considered a foreigner,
Mm,
right?
yeah.
And when I went to India, which I thought was my ancestral home and, my origin, they would also tell me I'm a foreigner. So essentially, I didn't belong to any of these countries based on the vision of those around me. And so I immersed myself in just understanding different cultures. And I was so blessed that because my father took us on his business trips and converted them into partial holidays as well, I
Mhm,
got to travel and see a lot of the world. And
mhm,
in that, I got to try different foods. I got to experience different cultures, different types of music. And I was just wowed by it. And because I wasn't so attached to being Belgian or Indian, I was more open to accepting the different cultures around the world. And today, if you ask me where you're from, and
mhm,
it may sound cliched or sound odd, but I don't think I'm from any one place. I could really consider myself a global citizen.
mhm.
And that's why I love travel, because I get to experience all of me.
Yeah.
There's so many parts of me I still haven't discovered. There's so many countries still to visit, but it enhances my uh, you know perspective and really opens my mind, and I love that.
Mhm. Great. Because I'm an avid traveler myself. I love traveling. And I saw so many synergies between our profiles that, sometimes I feel it's the law of attraction brings to you the people that really resonate and vibrate with you. So it's interesting to see, places like Amazon, visiting Peru, um, uh, Mount Kilimanjaro, those are the kind of work that you've done. And it's quite interesting to see how you work on your mindset, your skill set in order to become an entrepreneur that you are. So how would you say how important is working on one's mindset in order to scale the heights of success personally and professionally?
I didn't realize the importance until I had a breakthrough. And I would say today, if I want to make impact,
Mm-hmm.
right? I mean, I was just coaching someone yesterday, and he said, we went through different areas of his life. It could be the mental space, it could be health, physical health, it could be relationships, and it could be the environment that he was living in, right? And we spoke about which areas was he feeling that he was lagging. This gentleman was overall in a very good place, but he had a certain purpose, and he realized in order to meet that purpose, he had to improve in one or two of these areas,
Right. Mm-hmm.
even though he was in a good space. So he was taking the time to invest in himself in order to fulfill his purpose
Mm-hmm.
at a higher level. So if we want to continue, if we want to make impact, if we want to serve, if we want to make a difference in the world that we live in, we must invest in ourselves.
Right.
Because when we invest in ourselves and become a better version of ourselves, we have the ability to have a far greater reach and greater impact than we had before.
Yeah.
So, how important is it? Very.
Yeah, most of the time when we think about working on ourselves, we think of in terms of education, academics. But now, as both of us are engineers, we've also taken a higher degree, we realize that, that was good. But now investing in ourselves, whether it's getting a coaching or, doing um, a learning about our own selves, working on a mindset, heart set, soul set, how important it is to explore, within. So, just um, moving on to your next area, which is your book, which is Break Free, and it talks about decluttering. So why do you think decluttering is so important in our life? And how can it help to become better in what we do?
Amazing. And all this ties in with what you just said.
Mhm.
My personal belief, and I truly believe this for each and every global citizen, is that we all are this light bulb and we're shining really bright. But for some reason over the years, a lot of clutter has developed in our life. And so
Mhm.
essentially each piece of clutter is like this black cloth, that is somewhat transparent. And that's been put on top of this light bulb.
Yeah.
And over the years, another one got added, another one got added, another one. And all of a sudden, you can't see the light anymore,
Mhm.
right? And what decluttering does, it's removing anything that no longer serves any purpose in your life that you just seem to be dragging along with you. And then so we start removing
Yeah.
these black cloths. And suddenly we start to say, oh, this one is shining. No, they were always shining.
Right.
No one stopped shining. They just had too much of these black cloths or dark cloths on the light bulb. And as we remove them by decluttering different areas of their life and removing things that no longer serve function or purpose in their lives, they're allowed to shine bright and allow for the world to see that as well.
Mhm. Beautiful. And I think so. According to you, Sahil, what are the symptoms? You know, when a person should actually go for decluttering, or a coaching, or an investment in themselves. Could you give some of the symptoms that people could be aware and think about, seriously working on this side of their life?
Yeah. So before I answer that question, I mean, I personally believe that everyone should have a coach.
Mm-hmm.
And I coach, I have a coach. Just because I coach doesn't mean I know everything. I need someone to,
Right.
to help me see my blind spots,
Mm-hmm.
to help me to grow. Because again, why do I invest in a coach? Because I want to have greater impact. And the better I become, the more impact I can make. In terms of symptoms, there's two aspects to this. One is there won't be any symptoms at all. But it's like this. At least you think there are no symptoms. But I say, imagine if you're walking your whole life without shoes.
Uh,
Yeah. And you're walking on stone, on grass, on concrete, on different surfaces. Now, one day I come to you and I say, hey, here's a pair of, you know, really soft cloud feeling sneakers. And you wear them and you go, wow, this
yeah.
is amazing. So, you don't have to have a problem in order to have a better result.
Mm-hmm.
You could have been happy walking around barefoot.
Yeah.
But once you tasted better, that's when you realize, wow, this is how life actually can be. I don't want to go back. I want to continue wearing these sneakers in my life.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one side of it where you may not even believe you have symptoms. But on the other side, when it does get more severe, you might have, you know, your body is giving you messages. So you might be breaking out.
Yeah.
You might be lethargic. You might be having short fuse. You might be losing your temper a lot more than usual. You might have challenges sleeping. You might have a lot of inflammation in your body. I mean, there's so many things that can happen. But the question is, are you listening? Are you aware?
Right.
I remember when it was happening to me, I went to the doctor and the doctor would say, as per your reports and your blood tests, you're fine. But I
Yeah.
didn't feel fine. And yet my report said I was okay.
Mm-hmm.
But it's because I didn't give up and I kept digging and I went through all sorts of different types of, practitioners. I finally was able to get down to how to treat some of the ailments that I had and treat some of the symptoms.
Mm-hmm.
So you can have symptoms, some of which I described, and in other cases, you're just living life, but you haven't tasted better.
Mm-hmm. Beautifully said. And I think, coaching, it's like unless and until you've tasted or been with a coach, you will not know what you are truly capable of. Sometimes we don't value ourselves, we don't value our worth. But then there is this person who can bring out the best in you. And then you are living to a whole new purpose, whole new energy, So yeah, absolutely, Sahil.
I mean, look at sports.
Yeah,
The top performers who are number one and ranked in the world, they still have a coach.
they do.
And I can even tell you, one of the most successful leadership coaches, Dr. Marshall Goldsmith,
Mm-hmm.
he has someone who's holding him accountable on a daily basis as well,
Mm-hmm.
right? So everyone can benefit from having someone else
Right.
help them on their journey. Whether
Absolutely.
you want to call them a mentor, you want to call them a coach, you want to call them a confidant, whatever you wish to call them, that's secondary. But there is someone else that is helping you become a better version of yourself.
Absolutely. So, Sahil, you keep coaching so many people. If I would have to ask you, what do you think is the energetic blueprint for success? What creates successful people? So, what are the three top qualities that you would have, seen across being yourself a successful entrepreneur? What do you think is the energetic blueprint for success?
One element is definitely identifying and removing the clutter in your life. I mean, when you're carrying a lot, I always give the analogy of my mountain climbs. Imagine if I'm carrying a lot of extra weight that doesn't serve any function or purpose for that climb to reach my summit. Now, it's going to take me longer.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to require more energy, and I reduce the chance of making it to the summit. So the same way, what are we doing in our lives that are preventing us from reaching our personal summits? Whether it's a summit for our mind, for our body, for relationships, whichever area it is.
Mm-hmm.
And when that's there, your energy is not able to expand as much because it's being held down, right?
Right.
So that's one thing. The second thing I see where energy is really affected is fear.
Yeah.
Right now, if you look what's happening in the world, there's this fear that has engulfed our planet,
Mm-hmm.
right? And this fear has also, through worrying, has reduced the energy levels of someone, right? It's not able to expand as far or be felt by others. And if I can just share one tool, yeah, I came across this and I said it's mind blowing. It's this whole concept that there's no reason to worry in life.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah? And I love your smile, by the way, when I said that. And but when I heard this, I said, this person is crazy. How is that even possible? But here's the thing: do you have a situation in life? No. Easy, nothing to worry about. Do you have a situation in life? Yes. Can you do anything about it? No. If there's nothing you can do about it, then why are you worrying about it? You might as well accept it and just let it go.
Yeah.
And if there is something you can do about it, why on earth are you not doing anything about it? Put a plan of action in place,
Right.
right? Because I see a lot of people, they come and they worry about things that they have zero control over. And that's really affecting your energy as well.
It does. Yeah. True.
And I would say the third thing, which I see as a big one, is self-love.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people are so affected by what others think, by judgment,
Yeah.
that it's affecting their well-being. And we spend so much time with ourselves. It's important. This is our most important relationship. So
Mm-hmm.
let's start putting in the time and effort to make this relationship rock solid, so that we can do what we're supposed to do, which is greatness.
Yeah. So my spiritual teacher says, manifest your greatness in this lifetime itself. And, to start off with, it is important to spend time with yourself. It is important to know your own self, your own potential, and then maximize on it. So I think, Sahil, you're doing a phenomenal job. But I'm sure, there are times when sometimes our own energy goes down. So how do you master your own inner game, with all that you're doing, all the wonderful things that you're doing?
So I find that the most energy will get drained as well, right? There are people who reduce the energy levels in you. Maybe it's the weather. You're not happy with the weather. It could be how someone was driving on the road that made you upset. I mean, there's so many things that can happen. And so I came across two concepts that I really apply. And the first one is, how do I energize myself? It's almost like charging my internal battery to its maximum before I kickstart the day. Before I would wake up and I'd be running. I get the kids up, get them ready, drop them to school, come home, work out, get ready, go to the office, work, lunch, quick lunch, work, get home in time to put the kids to bed, have some
Wow.
dinner with the missus, maybe some time for friends and family, go to bed.
Mhm.
I was on the run. Where was time for me? And if I wake up and I'm on the run, I don't know if I got a good night's rest. I don't know how energized I am. And maybe the kids say, I don't want to go to school today, or I want to stay in bed now, or the
Yeah.
wife says something, and I'm like, oh my goodness. And the battery level is just constantly draining. And then before I even get to work, I'm like pretty much drained out.
Mhm.
And how productive am I going to be in that day? How good am I going to be with people? Not very. So I said, I need to take control of my life, and I need to energize myself every morning. So I started with a morning routine.
Mhm.
And I took control over my morning. So now I get up an hour before anyone else in the house, and I spend that hour energizing myself. And that's done through movement, where I do the Surya Namaskar. I do breath work.
Mhm.
I do Surya Namaskar to open up the body because it's been lying down and asleep for long, get the heart pumping. I do deep breathing, pranayam, to get oxygen into my cells, into the body. Then I focus on meditation to balance the mind with the heart.
Mhm.
And then after all of that, I get into journaling, where I'm expressing my gratitude, I'm expressing how excited I am, positive affirmations, and just prioritizing the most important things that I need to do that day in order to get one step closer to my summit. And so when I end this morning routine, I am energized.
Mhm.
Now if you knock me down, you can knock me down, but my battery is still there. you know and the other thing I found, which was a great exercise, is I got a little notebook and a pen, and I carried it everywhere with me. And I said, I'm going to write down every time I complain. And I'm a pretty positive person. So I said, I'll probably fill in a few lines. I filled pages. And a complaint could be anything. It doesn't have to be a
Yeah.
verbal, it could be a thought. I might say, oh, that AC is too strong. That's
Yeah.
still a complaint, right? And I recognized that I was complaining so much that I filled so many pages. And my aha moment was, oh my goodness, now that I'm aware, I'm going to start reducing the level of complaining. You can't eliminate it. Well, at least I can't. And now I've created space. One, I didn't let those things drain my energy. So that's also helping me on the energy front. And two, I created space for other things to enter, right?
Mhm.
Because all that complaining in one day might be 10 minutes, could be 15 minutes in total. But I just created space to bring in whatever I want: love, hobbies, relationships, whatever it is. But I created that space. So that awareness is very important as well.
Yeah. Well, you know, I think awareness is the key, to anything that you're doing, and I think that's why mindfulness is picking up so much in the corporate world and in the personal space also, because we've been conditioned to live like machines, to follow a routine,
Mhm.
to just. But now, with more and more awareness coming in, people are more mindful. We want to flow with life. We want to just go with the energy, and people who are actually working with that, we see a different kind of energy radiating out of them, a different aura, right? So probably I think people will start appreciating these subtle things in life that probably we've taken for granted for a long time, in order to create a better life for ourselves. So Sahil, with all that you described about your day to day, how easy or difficult it is for you to manage your personal life, your relationships, your entrepreneur journey, and your hobbies. How do you do that?
The key is saying no. I know that's a very simple answer, but I used to say yes to a lot of things. Now, when you feel that you have a lot of time,
Mhm.
at least when I felt I had a lot of time, I took time for granted. But when time was taken away from me, whether through work, whether through family obligation, whatever the reasons may be, I realized the importance of time. And time for me is one of the most important assets. It's one of the few things I'm never, ever going to get back.
Mm-hmm.
So now I ask myself, anytime I have to do something, is this adding value in my life?
Yeah.
For example, is watching TV adding value to my life? Yes, it's entertaining. I'm sure there are shows there that are very interesting,
Yeah.
but it didn't really add any value to my life. And so one day I decided I'm going to stop watching TV.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it would be hard, but it was super easy because I'm not really missing out on anything. Yeah, I'm missing out on entertainment,
Yeah.
but I'd rather get entertainment in spending quality time with my family and friends. I'd rather get entertainment through enjoying my hobbies and passions.
Mm-hmm.
And so do I watch TV now? A little bit, but I
Yeah.
but I predominantly watch either with the kids because they insist that, Papa, please watch this with us. And that happens every now and again. But otherwise, I watch things which are educative. I watch documentaries, docuseries
Yeah.
in areas which I would like to learn. So, you have to ask yourself, is this serving, is this aligned to where I want to go?
Yeah.
Right? I've identified my summits in life. So if someone comes to me with something and it's not aligned with any of those summits, I just politely decline.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, yes, there are times when you have to do something, but you know what? That's a few now,
Yeah.
right? That's a few. It's not all the time every day.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's amazing because by removing the clutter in my life and saying no to a lot of things that don't serve any purpose for me, I've actually freed up a lot of my time. And I'm enjoying hobbies and interests much more than I was before, because before I had no time. I was on the run.
Mm-hmm.
And because I invested in myself and realized where I want to go and what needs to be removed and what needs to be added, I'm now playing tennis again. I've started go-karting again because I used to race a lot as a child. And there's a lot of things that I've brought back in my life that used to give me a lot of joy. I've started playing a musical instrument again. So I'm like, wow, this is great. I love this.
Yeah. Beautiful. I think, the joy lies in relationships. The joy lies in the little things, that are close to our heart. But in the race of, in the name of success and in the name of, well-being, most of the time, you see people running to a gym or, spending time on things that they think are important. But I think, nurturing relationships with yourself and with others is what brings joy. A sense of community, a sense of well-being comes from being together. And during this pandemic, I think most of us have realized that the joy of being with family, or being close to people, is very, very important as a human being. The human connect is very, very important. So you're right. Saying no and creating that quality time is so important. And saying no is tough, I know, but it's an art. And the more you practice it, the more you get better at it. So thanks for sharing that, Sahil.
Absolutely. And, look, all of some people might say, oh, but, he's single, he's not married. And look, I am. Okay. And I say no to the missus as well. You know what's happened with that? Because she, I would say, used to like watching a lot of shows. She still watches TV, but very little. I think even she's realized that it's not as important. But every now and again, she'll be like, oh, watch this with me. You never watch anything with me, and I'd love to talk about it. And my answer is usually no. But every now and again, and in the last 12 months, I said yes to one show. And I said yes because it was 8 episodes. So it was short. And I'm like, okay, I can manage 8. And then at the end of it, I said, sweetheart, I love you. That show added no value in my life whatsoever. Don't ask me till next year. So, but we respect each other,
Yeah.
right? And the key here is being consistent, right? Because even as a parent, as a spouse, as a child, I would say yes sometimes, I would say no sometimes. And then people, they get confused or they get upset because then they think that, oh, look, this time he doesn't want to spend time with me, or whatever the thoughts
Yeah,
are that are going through their head. And I found it's just better to be consistent. So know your own boundaries,
absolutely.
right? Know your own boundaries. I mean, I go to bed early because I love waking up. So when I'm at a friend's house and at 9:30 I say I gotta go home, they don't question it because they know it's consistent. It's always the same, unless if it's a birthday or something, one-off occasion. So no one questions it because they know Sahil goes to bed by 10 or 10:30, so he has to leave at this time, and because he values his morning routine. But because there's consistency and it's part of my belief structure, people respect it. But if I'm wavering between yes and no and yes and no, like a pendulum,
Mhm.
it's going to cause clutter in relationships.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the more you value your time, the more you value yourself, you will see a reflection of that in others. So you're also creating an environment where people are able to, respect their own time and, their commitments. So it's a good example that you are setting for other people, because sometimes we are not aware that this is needed, but when
Mhm.
we see others, we are always appreciative of it. So yeah, it's a beautiful. Like I'm really inspired by you, Sahil. And this conversation that we are having. So going forward, what is it? When you're doing coaching, the one-on-one coaching, what is it that you want your clients to, maybe remember you for, or see an impact in their life? What is it, that one thing that probably you think is important when a client comes to you and asks for coaching?
One of the most important things for me is to listen.
Mhm.
Right? It's not about what I want for them. It's about me asking the right questions so that they can discover themselves.
Mhm.
Because I don't know who you are supposed to be, but I can certainly answer questions for you to help you to find out who you are supposed to be
Mhm.
and what you can achieve in your life. So it's all about listening. If I listen, I can ask the right questions. It's not my agenda, it's your agenda. So the focus, you're the star of the show, right? And that's very important. I am not the star of the show. I just have the tools that I can share with you to help open up your mind and your heart.
And your heart.
Mhm.
Absolutely. So, Sahil, do you also have a spiritual side to you? And if yes, what is it?
It's the short answer is yes. As an engineer, I fought it though. I really did.
Mhm.
And because my world was ones and zeros,
Yeah.
it was black and white. And if anything could not be proved by science, I would discount it.
Mhm.
And I realized that the divine, the universe, God, I mean, whatever you wish to call it, was always sending me signals. But because I was so top heavy with my mind, just it has to be logic, I was blocking it.
Mhm.
And I wasn't fulfilling, or maybe that was part of my learning, but I was not listening. I was not seeing. And I realized very quickly that there's a whole world that cannot be explained. And then I asked myself, I said, Sahil, just because science cannot explain it, does it mean it does not exist?
Mhm.
Could it not be that we don't have the tools to understand it because we haven't reached that level of intelligence yet?
Yeah.
If you could go back in time and tell your great grandmother that you're going to hold something in the palm of your hands that is so powerful that it could be used to launch a rocket into space, she'd say you're crack,
Yeah.
you're nuts. So just because it cannot be explained doesn't mean that it's not possible. And so I opened myself up. I said, I'm limiting myself to my five senses. And I realized that even with open eyes, I was blinded. So I started to feel rather than see and touch. And when I say feel, I don't mean physical.
Mhm.
Feel meaning the energy that, around me. And I started to understand people better. I could read them differently because I'm focusing not only on what they say, but the energy of that person. I'm feeling the energy of nature, Mother Earth around me. And I came to realize that there's this huge, complex world that exists that I was blocking, and I've been a fool, and I want to now be a part of it, and I want to be open to receiving. So you don't know what you don't know. And so that's when that was my entry into spirituality. And wow, it's been fascinating.
Mhm. So any specific ritual that you follow, like you said, you do your Surya Namaskar. Apart from that, is there any practice that you do and you would want to share that has really worked for you?
The simple and short answer to this is a heightened state of awareness.
Mhm.
It's really pausing. It's making sure that many times we get emotional, right?
Yeah,
And that emotion could be positive or negative. It could be either side.
right.
But when we're in a heightened state of emotion, we lose control. I always say that in general, you're the horse and the horse rider.
Mm-hmm.
In general, you're the horse rider and you control the horse where you want it to go and what speed. But once your emotions go high, you become the horse and you become a wild animal. And then, in my case at least, I look back and go, ooh, I wish I didn't say that, or I wish I didn't do that. So when I realize that my emotions are going high, I will practice breath work to bring me back.
Mm-hmm.
And I would just pause. I would just keep breathing, uh, deep breathing until I get back as the horse rider.
Yeah.
And then in that state, not in my emotional state, but in a heightened state of awareness, I would start to feel things around me. And I would ask questions and I would set intentions.
Mm-hmm.
I've had questions where I've asked the universe that, to guide me in a particular area. And that answer would come some way or the other. But if I'm not in a heightened state of awareness, I'd be missing those messages. They would just be zipping by me.
Yeah.
So that has helped me tremendously.
Mm-hmm.
It's get back to being the horse rider, ask questions and set intentions, and then wait patiently and listen. And by listening, I don't mean with your ears, feel it.
Yeah.
And you will get the answers in some way, shape, or form. Maybe someone meets you and all of a sudden this opportunity that you were looking for just pops up. Maybe you were thinking of someone and that family member emails you or calls you. I mean, it could be so many different things.
Yeah.
Maybe you're deciding between, should I buy a house or an apartment? How is that going to affect my life? And maybe, a broker calls you up and says, I know you've been searching for a house a long time and here's the house of your dreams. I don't know. I mean, it could be anything.
Yeah.
But if you're not in a heightened state of awareness, then what happens is you're usually just reacting in life
Absolutely.
rather than consciously responding.
And the more you acknowledge that this is happening in your life, the more signs or the more things you see um, happening for you. So basically, everything is happening for you. But when you miss out on those signals, you think that life is just happening to you, and and that is where you are missing out on this beautiful game of life, where everything is supporting in order to make you your greatest version. So yeah, beautifully put, Sahil.
I mean, if I may share a story, a personal story, just to highlight the point. So I started this journey of decluttering, but I didn't know where it was going to go. And there's a spiritual leader that my father-in-law follows.
Mhm.
Um, and he's a wonderful person, right? But with my top heavy mind, I was like, spiritual leaders, not for me, not my thing. But I enjoyed his company. He had amazing things to say, and it made a lot of sense. And during my father-in-law was really pushing him to come to our house in Dubai, when on his trip to the UAE. And he came because my father-in-law pushed him and because he was a devout follower. And at the end of the talk, which we thoroughly enjoyed, he did this thing and manifested something and gave it to me. Now again, I was like, this is all hocus pocus, I don't believe this. And I looked at it. I didn't really recognize what it was. I asked a few people, they didn't recognize what it was, and I put it away. During the next few months, and as he left, he said, Sahil, this time I came because your father-in-law invited me. Next time I'll only come if you call me.
Okay.
So fast forward a few months, and I've already started becoming more open, because as I started removing clutter in my life, a lot of amazing things started to happen, which I could not explain.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm now in my father-in-law's house in the US in the summer. And, I wake up early before anyone else. And I go over to the room across the hallway, which is where I was doing my morning routine, which included the reading, the meditation, etc. And I get this inner voice telling me, stop, go down to the library. I said, okay. Now, in the past, I would have ignored that. But I said, now I'm open to, I've opened myself to receiving. Maybe there's a reason behind this. Let's go. I go down to the library. I continue reading my book there. And I got this inner voice, stop. Scan the library. There's a book here for you. And so all the books are like this on their side.
Yeah.
It's not with the front cover where I can see what it is. Mm-hmm. And so I'm scanning through, and then one book is like staring at me. Mm-hmm. And this is also when I'm trying to figure out my purpose in life, by the way, right? So I pick up the book, and it's this book that's called The Jain Way of Life.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And I'm thinking, okay, because I'm not religious at all. And, it's a book that, but as I started to read it, I said, I'm not going to question it. I'm going to read it. I started reading it, and I realized it wasn't focusing so much on rituals, which is why, by the way, I was against religion, because that was kind of pushed on me as a child. And for me, I needed explanation. But this one focused on the way of life. This particular book focused on the way of life. So even if you remove the Jain part, I mean, anyone who picks it up can be, this is a good way to live life. And as I'm reading, I see this symbol and I go, hey, I've seen this before. It's the one that I was given.
Oh, wow.
And so it's a hand, and which means stop, like pause, right? And in the middle here, it's written ahimsa, which is, for anyone who doesn't understand what that means, it's non-violence.
Yeah.
And that's when my mind just went into like fireworks, right? I mean, it was an explosion, like in a good way. And I got my purpose in life. Mm-hmm. Because I was already partially vegan, but that was more for health reasons. Then I'm like, I love all living things, plants, animals, people. It doesn't matter if it's living, I love it. And from that minute, I stopped anything that involved killing of animals, to the best of my ability, of course. I mean, there's certain things you don't know, but I stopped all animal products, no leather, no food items. I stopped buying and receiving flowers, because it's like, you cut it and you kill the plant. There's a lot of changes that I made in my life immediately. But now it was with purpose. I didn't have to think about it. I didn't have to think, "Ooh, I love that pizza. I love that, that paneer." No, this is now my purpose. And that's why I do what I do, because I found that when you remove the clutter in your life, you get peace on the inside. And if you want peace on the outside, it's only going to happen if you have peace on the inside. Because once I had peace on the inside, the world around me, which was pretty much the same, became a lot more beautiful.
Yeah.
And so that's now what I practice with other people. And to complete the story, I found out he was coming back to Dubai.
Mhm.
I have no way to connect with him. I don't have a phone number. He doesn't have an email address or anything. And in my mind, I said, Guruji, this time I invite you to my house.
Mhm.
And by the way, like any Guruji that you may meet, everybody wants them to come to their house, right?
Yeah.
I get a call out of the blue. And I even asked my father-in-law, and he said, no, I have nothing to do with it. And I got a call out of the blue. The committee that organizes his trip while he's in Dubai contacted me and said, hey, would you like to be, because you had an event at your house and it was more young people and it was very good. Do you want to be a part of the team? I'm like, okay, interesting. And so I said, yes. And then in the committee, there are, I think, 6 members.
Mhm.
And they were putting a program together for 4 evenings. And everybody wanted him to come to
Yeah.
their home. And I'm the new kid on the block, right? And I'm the youngest in the committee. Everyone else is much older than I am. Many of them even my father's age.
Yeah.
And so, I just kind of held back and said, I'm not going to say too much. But in my mind, I told him, I said, Guruji, I invite you to come and bless our home.
Mhm.
And in the committee, they decided that one of the evenings would be at my house.
Wow.
And then I went to pick him up to bring him to the home. And he said, I'm glad that you invited me back. And so we can, people might say coincidence. Fine. If that's what you believe and you don't wish to understand that there's this whole spiritual energy world that we can't see, but we can feel that exists out there. But I mean, I just gave you a glimpse of something that has happened in my life. And I have many such stories. So there you go.
Beautiful. Yeah, these are things probably, I started writing my Miracle Monday stories, and I started documenting these coincidences that were happening in my life. And as you share, things with yourself, I feel it's so important, for people to know that all of this is happening, and this is happening with rational people, engineers. So it's not a woo woo. And, the more we start appreciating it, the more we are inviting these coincidences, synchronicities, and good things into our life. So, energy is a beautiful thing. And probably once you experience it, you enter a different world altogether, which probably, we keep discounting and saying, okay, that could be a gut feeling, or that could be, just a hunch. But yeah, thank you for sharing that, Sahil, because I'm sure, so many people, especially in the, entrepreneur world, or, people who are highly successful, they think that everything that people do is based on logic, it's based on analytics. And that's how,
That's how it was.
yeah, that's how, most of us think things work. But, the more I connect with business people, the more I connect with, people who really made it big, they always keep telling that there is something larger than themselves that is guiding them. And they just have to tune into it. And that is where the magic starts to unfold. So thank you for, reaffirming that to our listeners and people who are watching. So thank you. So now, I would just want to wind up this beautiful podcast session with a rapid fire and some, quick things that I would want to ask you and know about you. So are you ready? Okay. So which is your favorite book?
Wow. I don't know if it's my favorite, but it was definitely the one that came at the right time and was a big impact in my life. And that was The Miracle Morning by Hal Elrod.
Okay,
Yeah,
great.
because that really kickstarted my morning routine, and I'm very grateful for that.
Great. What is your favorite quote?
Funnily enough, this quote is from Unknown, but the quote goes like this: "They did not know it was impossible, so they did it."
I see that on your website as well. Beautiful. Um, what is your favorite movie?
Hands down, Shawshank Redemption with
Great.
Morgan Freeman and Tim Robbins.
Awesome. What's your favorite superhero?
Batman,
Mhm.
because he actually didn't have a superpower, but was still able to achieve a lot.
Yeah, great. What's your favorite holiday destination?
So many beautiful places in the world. My most memorable and groundbreaking was Bali.
Bali? Wow,
Hmm.
I really wish to go there soon. Okay. Um, in one word, describe Sahil.
One word. Wow. Energetic.
Awesome. Okay. That's wonderful, Sahil. And I really want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for sharing such deep conversation. People who would listen to this podcast, I'm sure they're going to take a lot from it. And I would really want to also say that you have a Zen-like feel to yourself, and please maintain that, because I think this state is something that people want to be in. They are inspiring. I'm seeing so many people inspiring to be in that zone now, and you are there. So just want to give you a lot of blessings and love for that wonderful smile and the balanced persona that you have. So thank you so much for being on the Millionaire Way podcast, and I wish you immense success.
Thank you for having me. It was an absolute pleasure.